single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Welcome to tomorrow again. Please like, share, or subscribe to this channel if you'd like to. If you'd like the content that you've viewed so far, just go ahead and subscribe and hit that post notification button. I never know which side that's on. It's either down here or down there. But the way it works is when you hit that button, hit that bell rather, you'll be notified every time that I upload a video. I want to talk to you guys about something. I want to talk to you guys today about ghosts. I never understood what ghosts were. I never understood that there are layers of entities and they're not all the same. I wanted to take you guys back to the 1980s, and I've got a story for you. It's story time. My daughter at the time was about 5 or 6 years old, and we lived in this, we meaning my daughter and my husband at the time. We lived in a 2-bedroom house. It was a gray house. It had sort of a good size front porch, 2 steps leading up to the front porch type of house. And the day that I moved into this house, I brought my grandmother with me because I was excited. I wanted to show her the house. And she went along until we got to the garage. And she said, "No, I'm not going inside that house." And she said, "There are haints in that house. I don't feel comfortable going in there." I'm like, haint? What is a haint? Well, that's an old school term for ghosts. And up until she said this, I never thought about there being a ghost in the house. I had been in the house. We didn't have any furniture moved in yet, but I had been in the house for several hours. I didn't sense anything, feel anything, but I wasn't in tune the way I am now. So I took what she said with a grain of salt. You know, my grandmother raised me, and she raised me in such a way to understand that there are things out here that we may not necessarily understand, but she put a heavy weight of caution with that information to not communicate with these things. You know, if you have a ghost in your house, a demon in your house, a jinn, whatever name you call it. And I'm not, just for the record, I'm not calling out anything. I'm just saying these words for understanding of what I'm talking about. Well, after we moved in, I think about a year had passed, and my daughter at the time was about 6 years old, and I was busy in nursing school, so I had a lot on my mind and trying to, you know, make sure that I kept up with my studies and made sure that I, you know, I had a little part-time job on weekends, you know, trying to keep things afloat. It was difficult at times to totally understand what she was saying, but she would wake up in the middle of the night and she would always be screaming. She would always be having nightmares, and we would get up and, you know, check on her, and then she'd be fine. And then it became so repetitive. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't understand what to do, how to help her, because in my mind, she's having nightmares. Then for a while we thought, is she doing it because she, you know, a lot of kids at that age, you know, they're very fearful at night. So we would leave the light on, leave a night light on for her, try all sorts of things to help her along. And so about a couple years later, after the nightmares had began, I had twins. And at this time, they were about 6-7 months old. And one twin I put in a walker, and my other twin was in a swing. You know those old-fashioned swings that crank up? That's the swing that she was in. And so I went into the kitchen to retrieve something, and when I came back, she was out of the swing, upside down, as if someone took her out and turned her around. And I just wanted to add a side note. My grandmother, the same grandmother that went to the house and expressed that she didn't feel comfortable going inside because there's a haint in there. Well, that grandmother had passed away by this time. And the first thing that came to my mind, although I cannot prove this, is that did she come in that house after she was, after she passed away, and pick one of my twins up, and then when she heard me coming, did she try to put her back? But she put her back upside down. There was no way for a 6 or 7 month old baby to take themselves out of a swing, and it had one of those sort of latch things around it, to take themselves out of the swing and put themselves back in within, say, 10 minutes upside down. That was my first clue that something wasn't right in the house. And shortly thereafter, I'd say about 2 years later, I found another place to live. My husband and I had separated by that time, and so I was on my own raising 3 kids. So I had some movers move our things, and I was so happy to get out of that house because it was just such a heavy feeling in there. Although I wasn't aware of anything necessarily haunted, but there was just an overwhelmingly heavy feeling, a sort of a feeling that it just, something wasn't right in there. It felt cold, and I don't mean temperature-wise cold. Well, we hired some movers, and as we were pulling out of the driveway and headed down the street with our last items, my daughter, and by this time she was about 10 years old, and she turned and looked at me and she said, "Mom, I gotta tell you something." And that's when she began to tell me about the things that she had been seeing in this house. Some of the things are incredible, unbelievably incredible. And then I reflected on what I experienced in the house and what my grandmother had said about the house. There's a lot. This led me to trying to figure out what all this stuff is about. It's kind of like the mother hen. When you're messing with my children, you're messing with my child, I want to find out what's going on. And we went for answers everywhere, trying to get help, trying to get some understanding on what all that was. And what ended up happening was my daughter, who is now very much grown, she has children of her own, she's married, she has found herself to be very clairvoyant. I mean, very, very clairvoyant. And has spent the greater deal of her adult life trying to understand the things that she's experienced. And I know there are lots of people out there. I know because I've talked to you guys over the phone. I've given you readings. I've read your email. I've read your text, and I understand that you have been through similar things with no answers. So my mission, one of my biggest reasons for starting this YouTube channel was to gather like-minded people to try to get some answers as to what is going on. What are these things? What are these entities? Well, I've learned that there are layers. I've learned that there's the physical world, there's another physical world, there's a spiritual world. I've done EVPs, I've taken pictures, videos, and I've compiled things together in order to get an understanding of what's going on. I've heard EVPs, and just so you guys know, for those of you that don't know what an EVP is, an EVP, and I'll put it on the screen here, somewhere along there, what an EVP, what EVP stands for. But in layman's terms, it's when you have a recording device and you just hit record. And sometimes if there are entities around, they will speak very clearly. You will get a Class A EVP with with surprising clearness. But my daughter will be here. She'll be joining me on this channel, a couple of episodes, a couple of videos, and she'll tell her story. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're going through something like this in your personal life, if you're in a house that seems like it's haunted, or everywhere you go, like in the case of my daughter and the case of myself, and a couple other close family members, everywhere we go, they are there, and there's no escaping it. And as I said before, I've experienced some things that if I told you, you probably would think that I was crazy. But it's very real. And for the people out there who have seen ghosts, who have experienced poltergeists or different entities, as I mentioned, there are layers. They're not all the same thing. That's the first thing that I learned. They will talk to you. They will talk to you in real time. I can't say that I advocate that, and I don't partake in that. I've done EVPs, I've captured EVPs, but with caution. And that's one of the reasons, you guys, you see me wear crystals around my neck. It offers me a sense of protection and understanding that I must keep a safe distance from a lot of these entities. And another thing, you guys, don't rule this out. We have experienced entities that have made us feel, get ready to laugh, but it's made us feel almost with 60-70% accuracy that some of these entities are time travelers. Why we can see them, why some people can see them, I don't know. I have no idea. I want to know the answer to that. Why some people can experience this, and it seems like it runs in families. So I think in time, I know in time, all these things will be make us more aware of what they are. But they are very real. It's not a figment of anyone's imagination. And if your child, if your young one is telling you that they see something, please believe them. What can it hurt? You know, please believe them. Even if you have to put a baby monitor in the room to see if you can capture something. So yeah, I wish that I could have or start some sort of group for children, for teenagers, for adults who have been traumatized by the things that they've experienced that they can't explain, that no one believes them. I'd like to start a support group out there somehow. I think that's one of my goals. I think it will be. So let me know in the comments, have you guys experienced entities, ghosts, spirits? Have you seen dead loved ones? And how can a dead loved one come back and walk around our house when they don't have their body? Is this some sort of weird apparition? Why are people seeing their dead loved ones at the foot of their bed? Why are they seeing these things? How can someone that has died talk? They don't have the body anymore. The body is, you know, is for all intents and purposes, once we pass on, our bodies are useless. It will deteriorate. It will go away. So how can there be vocal cords, and why do ghosts wear clothes? You know, why do they wear shoes? How does all that work? How does all that fit together? Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't think it'll hurt to explore this, to try to get some sort of understanding of things. I hope you enjoyed this video. And once again, my daughter is going to join me really soon and give her account of what she experienced. This is tomorrow again. Wishing you guys the best of the best. Enjoy your day. Try to live peaceful. Try to exude positive energy. Believe it or not, positive energy is a lot stronger than negative energy. Try to live your life feeling positive and feel the growth from that. This is tomorrow. Again, please like, share, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already subscribed. And for those of you who are already subscribed, I just wanted to tell you thank you so much. And once again, you guys, I will be making videos about my weight loss journey. I haven't lost any more weight since we last talked a couple of days ago, but I'm still consuming way less carbs, about 25-30 carbs a day, no sugar, no flour, no rice, none of those foods. And in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna up the ante on my carbs. I don't know the name of this diet. I'm not advocating it. It just seems like it's working for me.